I've got to do this video before I do the next video. Think on. But you might not watch them in that order. I don't like, they say put little cards at the end to tell people to carry on watching. It feels a bit authoritarian. You will watch my videos. If you don't like them, go and watch something else. It's like that. But make sure you grab them in the first second. Don't waffle. If I've got a waffle, that's all I've got. I've only got waffle. I'm going to talk to you about my uncle Galen for two reasons. One, quite a few people ask me, not just on YouTube, but throughout the course of my life, why I am called Galen. Is it a name I've conjured out of the ether? Is it because I like fantasy and I've decided I'll call myself Galen, like Galen in Lord of the Rings or some mythical character? And it isn't. It's far more mundane than that. And secondly, being called Galen has influenced my gaming, or you might say my Galening. That was like a joke, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was. So, I'll tell you about Galen. Galen was my uncle Galen. Born in 1920, he was killed in 1943, Christmas time-ish, 1943, December. And he was in the RAF. He served as a flight engineer, mechanic-y type sergeant on Halifax. I wasn't born until the mid-50s, so I never met him. But my dad was from a huge family, and the brothers were sort of born in pairs. So the oldest two were born in the First World War period, and they were like bosom buddies. And then there's a little gap, and then another two came along. Not twins, just like one year, and then 18 months, 2 years later, another one, and so on. Down to the youngest, who were my dad and his little brother. Well, then the big brothers, who by that time were working, sort of adopted the little brothers to look after them, took them under their wing, so to speak. And we were from a mining family, big, strong lads, mining pit family. Not like me, weedy. my dad had blue scars all over where coal dust going to his cuts, and I was doing all lurid tales of uncles who were still buried underground because big chunks of coal fell on them, and pits caught fire in Bentley in the South Yorkshire and they couldn't get them out. It's grim, and that goes back and back and back and back. I did my family tree once. These things where you do a DNA swab and they send it off and they come back and tell you how important you are and who you're related to and where you lived around the world. So I opened the envelope. Who am I related to that's famous? Nobody. Not a soul. Where have my family lived in the world? Yorkshire. A little bit in Wales, a little bit in Scotland, a little bit in Ireland, a little bit in the Midlands, Stoke. I knew that because they came down following the canals. They were canal navvies. They dug the canals and they went from Liverpool to Stoke and then they stopped. We were pretty typical migrant workers, really, and the family names represent that. Finney, they were sort of Norsey type Irish who dug peat on the fens for the fires. Shovels, mud digging. Part of the family come from Lincolnshire, East Yorkshire, agricultural labourers. One old lad, in one of the early censuses, he was 8 the first time he appears, and he's down as an agricultural labourer. And the last time he appears, he's nearly 90 in the same village, and he is still an agricultural labourer. There's no movement, you know. It's like all things bright and beautiful in our family. The rich man at his castle, the poor man at his gate. God made them high and lowly, and ordered their estate. That were us. That's what my granddad said to me once when we had like careers advice at school, which basically in my day was, "Oh, you get a career." We didn't bother with that sort of stuff because the school gate went like that, and the mines and the pits went like that, and everybody went. Unless you had an ape of brains, in which case you went off to do something else. Like me, I went to be a teacher. But, by the by, that's not to do with the story. So we've got this, we don't go anywhere, we don't do anything, we dig. Mud, shovel, us. That's it, really. Until my generation come along. So they were, you know, big strong lads, these pit families, stuck together, toll bar wreckers, they called them. Toll bar's a place in Doncaster. So they were close families. And the families they lived in a 2 up, 2 down pit house. Now, if you don't know what that is, 2 up, 2 down means you've got 2 rooms upstairs, 2 rooms downstairs, and that's it. They had an outside toilet. I was born in a property place called Kelham Street, which is gone now, obviously. But Kelham Street, there were 12 families lived in a row in a tenement, and there was 1 toilet, and there was a wash house. Don't a bath. We had a metal bath. I'm not talking the dark ages here. You know, Friday night was bath night, and your dad got a bath first because he was dirtiest, having been to the pit, and then you went in order. By the time I got in, it was just like black sludge. And we used to get soap from the pit head. We used to go to the pit, and where the men would wash, it was called the pit head baths. And you go up to the pit head baths man, who was usually an old miner, grizzled old miner, with a face like a smacked backside, and you'd say, "Oh, can I have some soap?" And he gives you a bag of big chunks of broken carbolic soap, and it were horrible. but it were free. We'd bring them home like that. And during the miners' strikes in the 70s, coming home, if you saw a piece of coal, you picked it up, put it in your bag. So when you got home, you've got some coal. Oh, fantastic. Oik it on the fire. Happy days. Now, where was I? I digressed. And when I digress, I get lost. So, there's like 12 kids, mum and dad, all living in North Wales at the time, because that's where the better money was for miners. So they'd moved from the shoveling clay for the potteries into coal mining, better money. Not daft. Up there for thinking, down there for dancing. Now, so they're at the pit. They've got like 12 kids, mum and dad. Some of the kids are working, some of the blokes, some are little. And anyway, my grandma's having a baby. Not now. Talk about like 1918, 1919. And the midwife, it wasn't a proper midwife, it wasn't one of these NHS jobs. This is like 30 years before the NHS. The midwife was a little old wise woman who lived in a place called Buckley, near Flint in North Wales. If you ever said to my grandma, "Where's my mum?" she'd say, "Oh, she's gone to Flint to pick cockles," which I never understood. Apparently it's the thing. So my grandma's having a baby. And the midwife, I don't do that, I hate when people do that. The midwife, in inverted commas, this woman who's just helped gazillions of women have babies, tells me, "Grandma, I'm calling my child, my new baby," because she's got a baby. That's good advertising, isn't it? If you're going to buy carrots, buy them off a bloke who's got a bag of carrots. Don't buy them off a bloke who's selling mobile phones. What's the point? You want carrots, right? So she's having a baby. That's a good sign. My grandma's had a couple of kids by this time. She hadn't had a dozen. They come later on. But she's she's getting the hang of things. So, midwife says to me, Grandma, oh, I'm calling my new baby Galen. Now, I'm going to read, this is, my grandma didn't know this, but you probably do. Galen, Greek philosopher, studied anatomy. Now, in the Roman Empire at the time of Caligula, that was illegal. You couldn't just randomly go round and go, oh, what's in there? Have a look at that. So we had a clever idea, because he weren't daft, weren't Galen? He invented cataract operating things. Pretty much the design of which he invented 2,000 years ago is the design we are pretty much using. Clever man. So he thinks, aha. He wasn't perfect with his miasmas and fluids and stuff, but, for time, fair play. And I think I'm right in saying that Caligula's nephew was poorly and no one would go and help him because all doctors went, I didn't nothing there. What if he dies? They're going to blame me. So they all went, oh, no, I'm not coming. But Galen went, oh, yeah, I'll come and have a look. So he popped off and he made him better. Well, he got better. Let's say he made him better for the sake of the story. And Caligula went, oh, I quite like you. Gave him a certain sense of immunity. But he thought the clever idea he had was not to do with Caligula's nephew. He didn't go around and blow germs on him. He thought, I know where I can find humane bodies, where I can look at and I can look inside. And it's gladiators at the Colosseum. So he went and worked there. And these lads had come in with bits chopped off. So the lad comes in with a big lion chasing him and a belly full of tripes in his arms like that. Said to Galen, can you help me? He said, well, I can't help you, but what I can do is a lovely little sketch. Just sit there for a minute, try not to bleed on me parchment. So he did that. But so there's a medical connection. A bit like Hippocrates, doctors take the Hippocratic oath. And Galen's in that sphere. Doctors, nurses, medical people know about Galen's medical stuff. So this midwife is calling her child Galen because of the medical connection. My grandma, thick as a plank, Welsh-speaking granny, never been anywhere, still going down to Flint to pick cockles. She doesn't know why. Baking lava bread, speaking Welsh. She thinks that's a Welsh name. I like that. Old Welsh name. Back to the days of the Mabinogion. And yeah, to be fair, you can see why, can't you? I can see why. I think it's a very fantasy-driven type name. I mean, look, Tolkien obviously thought so. Other people have thought so. I was watching an old film the other day, Dragon Slayer from the 80s. And the hero in that's called Galen. So, yeah. So I'll call my son Galen. That'd be nice. I don't know if she thought that would be lucky. But anyway, that's what she did. So my uncle was called Galen. And then about 6 years later, my dad came along. So he was one of the littler brothers that my uncle Galen adopted. My dad hero worshipped his big brother Galen. So Galen joins the army. Now, well, he got called up. So he tootles off. And he was the unlucky one in our family because everyone served apart from the youngest brother. And they were all in the army. Apart from Galen, who went into the RAF. Big mistake. My granddad used to say, be a soldier, because if you're on a ship and it sinks, you're in trouble. They don't have to get you. They've only got to get this great big ship. If you're in an aeroplane and it conks out, they don't have to get you. They've only got to get that. If you're a soldier and somebody starts shooting at you, you can hide behind a wall. Think on. So, right. Now, he didn't listen. Perhaps he couldn't listen. I don't know actually why he ended up in the RAF. But he did. Maybe he thought he looked swish in his little uniform, his brill cream. So, he joins the RAF. And he's in Halifax Bombers. And he's got a fiancée. There's a picture of her on the thumbnail. I'll stick the other pictures at the end as well, in the vain hope that other YouTube users won't whack pictures of their watch this next thing's on top of me. Even if I put cards on the end, somebody else's cards seem to override them. Mine never pop up, so I've given it up as a bad job. I've been bullied. Now, so, Christmas, December 1943, bad news. Galen's dead. My niece lives in Germany. She works in Germany. And because it's more than 70 years since the event, all the records are released. And we know everything about that day. We know the plane number. We know the rest of the crew. We've got reports from the Focke-Wulf pilot squadron that shot him down, shot the plane down. We know where it happened. We know where he's buried. My son has been to the grave in Berlin. So we know everything what happened. We've got that squared away. Obviously, dark days for the family. But I never met him. But I grew up with this story. Until my niece got the true story of what happened, I'd always had visions of him trapped in a burning aircraft and not know able to get out. And they were jumped by 3 planes. The front German plane set off a few shots. The whole thing went kaboom, presumably hit the bomb load, and they found it scattered over about 5 miles, this plane wreckage and bodies. They didn't know anything about it, I suspect. But Seliger, as soon as my dad got to be 18, he legally at that point then joined the army. My grandma was livid. She was furious. She tried marching him back to the recruiting office in Doncaster to make him change their minds, and they wouldn't do it. So my dad ends up regular soldier. He joined in 1944, March 1944, when he was 18. He went over to France, not on D-Day, he went on the 3rd day after D-Day plus 3. And he served with the American Army. He was at Nijmegen, and he fought the Battle for the Rhine, and he ended up at the end of the war on an American base. He loved it. It was a great time. He played ragtime piano. He said he was always lucky because being based with the Americans, their concert parties were things like, Bob Hope, and they had the Andrews Sisters and Glenn Miller, and the poor old Brits had Vera Lynn. We'll meet again. Hoping all sad George Formby when I'm cleaning windows, and my dad wouldn't have swap that. So everyone was happy. My dad gets engaged to a German girl after the war, and all's tickety-boo. Everyone was very happy until a drunken American airman riding home in a big lorry ran him over. And he spent 2 years in hospital, about 6 months in a coma, and he got 100% war disability right up to the day he died. My mum still gets a war pension. Bad news all round. And it affected him mentally, and it affected us because of his trauma. We suffered in the way that a lot of wounded servicemen's children and families do, from his mood swings, his depressions, his pent-up angers, whatever. It feeds into who we are, doesn't it? It's whatever it is, it is. So, I don't want it to get dark. It's not dark. It's meant to be just a thing. So, I'm the first boy born after the war. So they call me Galen. Real name. It's my real name. Galen. 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 It's not made up. It's not invented. Nobody gave it me. I was granted the privilege in my head of getting an honour, a family honour. Now this leads to all manner of problems, because I'm quite happy up until about 1971, 72. People shouting, "Hey, Galen!" as I walk down the road. I'm Galen. That's who I am. There's even people in the bit village, people who work with me dad, who know who Galen was. Could be. Some of his mates were still alive. It's only 12 years later, for example. But then a terrible, terrible thing happens. An American... The Americans have featured very heavily in my downfall, can I tell you? The Americans bring out a film. I loved it. Planet of the Apes. With Roddy McDowell as a chimpanzee called, you know already, don't you? Galen. So, and then they add insult to injury because you think, all right, but like last week's newspapers, it'll be wrapping fish and chips tomorrow. No, it won't, because they bring out a series with Galen in the wrong thing every week. So for the rest of the world, suddenly Galen turns into, you're different. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't know. You might not be the sort of person who gets bullied, or ever got bullied, or picked on, or felt scared, or isolated. You might be the sort of, what do they call it, jock. You know, the lad who always got the girl and fancied John Travolta in Grease, that sort of dude. That weren't me. If I'd been in a British version of a film like Grease, you would never have seen me. Because I, at round about the age of 11, became a ninja. I had the art of playtime, bells gone, everyone outside. Me, hiding. Store cupboard. My favourite place, there was this bloke, Mr. Rudd, nice chap. And we were in blocks. And in our work block, there was a store cupboard for paper and books and pens and rulers. And he had the key. So, playtime, bell goes. It didn't go like that, it was a proper bell. That was just some kid at the end of the corridor. We haven't got a bell, make that noise. So, I used to wait till he went out, because he couldn't wait to get out for a smoke. So we'd go out, I'd get the keys to the store cupboard. I'd nonchalantly, whistling perhaps, walk to the store cupboard, open the door. Anybody sees me, what are you doing, boy? Get your paper for Mr. Rudd. Good boy, I will check. Fair enough, sir. Nip inside, lock yourself in. Sit quiet for 15 minutes till the bell goes. Come out. Sometimes you might even come out with a book. I've got that book for you, sir. What book? No, just before you went for your cigarette. Thank you, I remember now. Keys back. Got to know how to hide, how to duck, how to dive. Because when I'm outside, people now are making monkey noises at me. I've got family honour to protect. My dead uncle, Galen, who's my dad's hero. And then by definition, my hero. He's the only hero my family have got. And he's only a hero because he got killed. It's not, you know, he didn't slay a dragon or anything. Just a working class story of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, they make monkey noises, I fight. But anything you do, you see, back in my day, it might be true now. I know it's all internet bullying and stuff now, isn't it? But back in my day, when somebody wanted to bully you, they did it face to face, mano a mano, and no messing about. They usually didn't come one at a time. There's usually packs of them, like little hyenas or jackals, trying to hunt you down. Like a bloodhound's chasing a fox. But some guy at the end going, "View, hello." No, it wasn't true. And it was the slightest thing. It might be the way you looked. You might have a funny name, like me. You might eat crayons. To be honest, the kids that did that sort of thing, they didn't really get that they were being bullied anyway. So I'm not sure if I count them. But some of them were horrible. There were a lad in my class at primary school, maybe about 9, and he had leukemia. We all knew he had leukemia. He was dying. This is early 60s. Did people stop bullying him because of it? Did they? Heck. You know, they should be ashamed of themselves. Appalling. You walk funny. If you have the wrong clothes, you know, poor kids who couldn't afford the right clothes. Someone who made one mistake and that haunted them forever. Because you're different. Now, we all know now what happened was the bullies are actually weedy, insignificant people who are looking to pick on other people because of their own insignificances, and they think by diverting that off somewhere else, it protects them. I don't. It just makes them look small. So I'm made monkey noises everywhere I go. And my mum's not helping. Galen, it's raining. Come and put your coat on. Oh, Jesus, shut up. I don't think that they were the only 3 people in the whole of West Yorkshire who didn't know my name. Now you've told them. Thanks very much, ma'am. So, I mean, my dad's advice was always do the same. My dad's advice was always the same. Belt them. Yeah. I'm about 3'6", 2.5 stone, dripping wet. These lads are monsters. Well, anyway, so generally speaking, I fell back on the let's hide scenario. But one day, I thought, you know what I'll do? I see one of these main bullies, and he stood on, we had like a concrete barrier, and it had railings, iron railings on top. And he was holding it like that, talking to his mates through the iron railings, and his mates were on the other side. I made a calculation. I thought, right, his mates are on the other side. They've got to come all the way around to the school getting through to help him. It's just me and me. Me and him. That's good. That's one-on-one, all right? He's not looking at me. He's not looking. He don't know I'm going to do this. That gives me another advantage. I was a big fan of the advantage. And I thought, what I'm going to do, I'm going to splat him against them railings. So I ran at him full pelt, proper, and I barged into him on the railings. Pow! In my head, he was going to go through the railings like sliced ham. We used to have a greengrocer's at the top of the road, Mrs. Birkinshaw. Mrs. Birkinshaw, can I have a heap of sliced corn dog? And she'd say, go on then. And if you don't know what corn dog is, it's corned beef. And if you don't know what corned beef is, you were a lucky beggar. Trust me. And she had a big machine, and she put it on, bam, and it had to go, zoop, 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 and these slices would peel off onto greaseproof paper that your mum and your granny would then give you to trace on, with all meat stains on it. What you been doing? You smell of beef. I've been tracing. Yeah, right. You dirty beast. So, my head, I hit this lad, he goes through the railings, Bugs Bunny style, and there's like, then he gets to the side like a whole person, and then he peels like that. No, that's not what happened. He was on the railings, I hit him, and he went, then he looked round, and as I legged it, he grabbed the hood of my coat, pulled me back, and gave me one heck of a beduffing. I look like a panda, 2 black eyes. And the teachers would say, have you been fighting? No. Because you couldn't say you had. What did you do? Oh, yeah. Well, who have you been fighting? Oh, him. Well, now you're dead. Go home and your dad says, you've been in a fight. Oh, how'd you know, Dad? Sherlock Holmes. Well played. Did you win? Do I look like I won? Yeah, you should see the other lad. He's in a proper mess. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I'm too modest. Go upstairs, cry yourself to sleep for hours. But we have a secret weapon, don't we? Because while all this horror's going on, we are inventing our own worlds of knights in armour. And suddenly, Galen isn't on Planet of the Apes. He is Sir Galen And if you're well read, maybe Sir isn't spelt S-I-R. Maybe it's spelt C-E-R. Maybe he's a knight of the round table. Maybe he's on a quest. And then on your bedroom table, on your own or with your brother, you can create entire fantasy worlds where the bullies aren't going to pop out the trees and go, "Oh, Galen!" Family honour. I'll leave you with one last anecdote. I was coming home from school one day, and we came down, well, they called it a bridle path. Well, it was a bridle path where the horses were from the farm. So I'm coming out of the mining village where everyone works. Coming out of the mining village. This kid tries to kick me off my bike. I'm not having it. That bike is for the purposes of this story, my horse, right? So in my head, this villainous scallywag is trying to steal my horse. Big fight. I keep hold of my horse, but I get a leathering. Gets to the farm, about halfway home, some lads start throwing stones at me. I don't know why. So I throw them back. Farmer comes out, shouts at everybody, we scatter. Job well done, fine. Gets to the top of our road. There's 3 lads who live on our street. This is how dangerous life is. One of them lives next door. You know, I mean, it's not like I've got no man's land. It's like you're in the First War and you're fighting the Germans over there, but there's one lives here. There's 3 lads just waiting for me at the top of our street. And I still don't know what happened. We ended up in one heck of a pile-up. I was 11 and they were 14 and 15 years old. And that's a context for what's going to happen in a minute. So I comes in, I've got buffed ears, split lip, wobbly tooth, big lump. My blazer was ripped, I've got my badges are up, my satchel's been thrown in a pond. I'm going to get in trouble because all my books are covered in seaweed and duckweed and frog spawn. My mum shouts at me because I've dirtied my shoes, which is really the least of my issues, to be fair. My dad's mad because I've been fighting and I haven't been winning. Anyway, day's over. Go to bed. Wake up in the morning, bright new day. I'm all patched up, my mum's sewn my blazer back on, got my badge. I get to school, sat in assembly. We used to have big assemblies, like 2,000 kids. Not, you know, Lord of the Rings, when Saruman gets all the orcs and man-orcs together and it's like that. And the headmaster and all the teachers used to come on wearing gowns and big caps, like graduation things. Like a lot of vampires floating in. And he stopped. So we're on assembly, we sing a hymn, la 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 la. We get a few notices, football team, rugby team, cricket team, blah blah blah. Oh, before you go, thinking about usually now this is like, you know, there's going to be a fire drill. He said, it's come to my attention, there were 2 boys fighting over a bicycle at the top of Mere Lane. Stand up. Stood up. Me and this other chap. See me after assembly for a caning. I know, like a big old Tom Brown school days thing. Oh, seems unfair, but there you go. Sits down. No, I just hit the floor. My delicate little small bottom had just hit the deck when he went. And also, there was a fight outside the farm on the bridle path with boys throwing stones. Stand up. So I'm up again with these other chaps who'd ambushed me. And fair play, it's probably a good ambush looking back now, 60 years later. You know, it was a good spot. I didn't see them. I wasn't awake enough. I had a lot to learn about being a ranger. See me after assembly for a caning. You again. One single tear. Looking all forlorn. Right, sit down. So I'm just about it. And end of the bridle path, just as you go into the next village. 4 lads fighting. Stand up. I'm up again. And I've seen you before. And I thought, well, yeah, you have. Well done. You saw me 2 seconds ago then, and about 4 seconds ago then. Come to my office for a caning. Well, in fairness, what I should have said was, I already am. So, that was, you didn't need to say that. Them 3, on the other hand, give them a walloping. Me, I'll be there anyway. So, just, will they run concurrently? I know this isn't about Dungeons and Dragons. I know it's not about wargaming. It's about my uncle Galen and why I'm called Galen, and some people have asked. And it sort of maybe feeds into why fantasy worlds are more important to me than real worlds. And I got to rant about bullies that I can't stand. So, Yabu sucks. If you don't like bullies, get in here. Come on, snuggle up. The water's lovely.